Hello, welcome to our Cinco de Mayo webinar. So happy Cinco de Mayo. Today we're going to look at some consumer sentiment surrounding today's holiday among U.S. Hispanics as well as non-Hispanics to see how they would like to celebrate this holiday, what they think of the holiday, such things. So with me, we have also Jonathan. So let me first tell you a little bit about who I am. So I'm a co-founder of ThinkNow Research. My name is Roy Eduardo Cocoyachuk. If you're speaking English, Cocoyachuk. If you're speaking Spanish, I'm Argentinian. My business partner, Mario Carrasco, is Mexican-American. We co-founded ThinkNow about 10 years ago. And with us is also Jonathan. If you can introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Jonathan Sakisiwi, and I'm a product manager here at ThinkNow, working on the Connect product. I am Ecuadorian American, and actually as of 2 years ago, I also received my Ecuadorian citizenship.
But he also happens to be in Mexico City at the moment, actually a couple hours from Puebla, which is how Cinco de Mayo started, or the place where Cinco de Mayo started. So great. So Jonathan, if you could just forward, tell us, the audience, a little bit about the research that we did. So we ran a quantitative survey through our national omnibus study. And so that's about 1,500 respondents. 500 of those are U.S. Hispanic, 500 non-Hispanic white, 250 Asian Americans, 250 African Americans. So, and that's how you get to the base size. It's a 18 to 64 sample, and it's nationally representative. So when we look at the total market sample, we created that by taking the weighted regions of the census to create a total market sample, and then we can also see each ethnic group. But if you want to know a little bit more about it, the last slide has all the information on the demographics of the people who took the survey. So without further ado, let's jump right in.
Cool.
All right, so the first thing we asked about was how confident the respondents were that they knew what Cinco de Mayo was celebrating, right? And so the audience felt pretty confident. So 69% of Americans feel pretty confident that they know what Cinco de Mayo is all about. Hispanics is the highest of the four ethnic groups that we broke it out. But on the right, you'll see that we also broke out Mexican origin Hispanics versus non-Mexican. And then, of course, the highest certitude that they know what the holiday is about is among Mexican origin Hispanics. So that's what they think. So 70% think they know what it's about. 85% of Mexican origins think they know what the holiday is about. So let's jump over to the next slide and see how they did. And not so well. So Cinco de Mayo, as many of you already know, commemorates the Battle of Puebla, 1862. The French were invading Mexico. They wanted to install a monarchy there. The Mexican forces stopped. There was a march towards Mexico City. Mexican forces stopped the French at the city of Puebla, which is about 2 hours outside of Mexico City. And that's what the Cinco de Mayo commemorates. So the most common answer is that it's Mexican Independence Day, and it is not. And so 41% of the respondents believed it to be Mexican Independence Day. The least, the study was in field in late April, a couple weeks ago. Dania just asked the question. So this is very recent research. It's hot off the presses. So the least likely to say it's Mexican Independence Day, of course, are Mexican origin Hispanics. Most likely to say it's Mexican Independence Day are African Americans. No, actually non-Hispanic whites. And so there are some answers, though. A celebration of Mexican American culture, which I wouldn't say is a wrong answer. It's kind of is a celebration of Mexican American culture. So I would also include that as a correct answer. And then the others are, correct as well. It is an American U.S. holiday. Well, it kind of is, because it's celebrated pretty much only in Puebla, in Mexico. Right? You're in Mexico City right now, Jonathan. Is there any evidence of Cinco de Mayo celebration happening in your midst?
No, I've been here 3 days, and walking around, I haven't seen any signs on bars. I haven't been targeted with ads. So to me, having researched this, it feels very true that it's just celebrated in Puebla, not throughout Mexico.
Right. And so the closest thing that I could think of it is in terms of American culture is, was this an open-ended question or an aided question? This, I believe, was a coded open-ended question, but I would have to confirm that. I don't have the tables in front of me at the moment, but what I was saying is that the closest thing I could compare this to is maybe the Battle of Gettysburg, where it was a battle that sort of, some believe, turned the tide for the Union forces to go on to win the American Civil War. So the Battle of Puebla is kind of a major battle. It didn't actually end the war, but that's basically what Cinco de Mayo commemorates. So, but it being an American holiday, it's celebrated more here than anywhere in Mexico other than Puebla, and it became popular or to a national audience in the 1980s, promoted primarily by beer companies. So it was something that was latched on to sell beer, Mexican beer, in the 80s, and since then it's been growing in momentum. So next slide. And so we then asked, do people plan to celebrate Cinco de Mayo? So nationally, about 53% of respondents said they would celebrate Cinco de Mayo. The most likely to are Hispanics. And again, we broke out the Hispanic number between the Mexican and non-Mexican. And as you can see, even Hispanics who are non-Mexican are more likely to celebrate Cinco de Mayo than any other ethnic group. So while it does celebrate Mexican culture and it commemorates a Mexican battle, it has gotten pretty wide acceptance among non-Mexican U.S. Hispanics. Just a little bit about my background. I've been doing Hispanic market research for the last 20 years. I started at Warner Brothers, and I was pretty much the only Hispanic there who did Hispanic media research at the time. And one of the things that I've sort of discovered over the years is that when non-Mexican origin Hispanics come to the U.S., they first have to acculturate to U.S. Hispanic culture before they acculturate to the national culture, because the U.S. Hispanic culture is heavily Mexican, right? So for the largest Spanish language broadcaster, Univision, gets a lot of their content from Mexico. So even if you are Ecuadorian, as Jonathan is, or Argentinian, as I am, you are exposed to Mexican culture as part of U.S. Hispanic culture. So that's how you would get a result like this, that non-Mexican Hispanics celebrate the holiday. So least likely to celebrate Asian Americans. Next slide. And so in this slide, we asked, how they'll be celebrating the holiday. And for those celebrating, half will be eating Mexican food at home. Mexican Americans are the most likely to say that they'll be sharing food at home and spending time with friends and family. Mexican Americans and non-Mexican Hispanics are less likely to celebrate by drinking margaritas when compared to Asians, African Americans, and Hispanic whites. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a second. And Asian Americans are less likely to go to an event like a festival or a parade commemorating the day, whereas African Americans and whites are more likely to go to a bar. And then if you go to the next slide, Jonathan, this information exists here. And this also has the total market read on everything we just sort of mentioned. So eating Mexican food at home. So for marketers, if your brand has wishes to do a tie-in to the holiday, if your brand can be part of Mexican cuisine, then eating Mexican food at home is something that it could be perhaps showcased in that context. Getting together with friends and family. So drinking margaritas. There's lots of the strangest thing here that to a lot of people might be that Mexican origin Hispanics are the least likely to drink a margarita on Cinco de Mayo, and most likely would be African Americans at nearly 50%. And there's lots of reasons for this. So Mexican culture doesn't really have as much. It's not as cocktail focused as U.S. culture is, and some people are not even sure that margaritas were even invented in Mexico. There's about 10 different theories of where margaritas came from, and a lot of them revolve around women named Margarita that some bartender named the drink after. The one that I tend to believe is that during Prohibition, there was a drink called a Daisy, which was basically what we would consider to be a margarita, but it was made with brandy. Everything is the same as a margarita, but it was made with brandy. But in Mexico, they at some point someone put tequila instead of brandy, and so a Daisy with tequila is a margarita, and a daisy flower in Spanish is called a margarita. So that's my belief, is that that's where margaritas came from. But again, there's lots of people who say it was named after one of 10 different women named Margarita. And so some of the other interesting findings on this page. Let's have a quick look here. Reading about Mexican history, African Americans were the highest to mention that. Going to a bar is probably what we most associate with Cinco de Mayo, or at least in the media, or in terms of advertising. Interestingly, it's not in the top 5 of how people. Now, this of course was asked this past April, and so going to a bar is not something. I'm sure this number will be very different next year. But the response to that, the highest were non-Hispanic whites. Sorry, scratch that. That would say African Americans, 27%. Least likely were in fact Hispanics. And so let's see. There's a couple of questions here. Is first really a culture, and it's really a celebration that perpetuates stereotypes, Mr. Sutton? Yes. And so we the next slide, we also talk about the stereotypes of the holiday as well. Or I think it might even be the next slide. So Jonathan?
Yep.
And there you go. So we had this question about cultural appropriation. And so, how strongly do you agree with the following statement? Wearing sombreros and fake mustaches for Cinco de Mayo is cultural appropriation. So the people most likely to say that was cultural appropriation and thus inappropriate at 48% were the non-Hispanic whites. And so among Mexican descent Hispanics, 38%, said that was cultural appropriation. The total market read is 44%. So the interesting thing about Cinco de Mayo is I think it is and will be undergoing a transformation, much like many other U.S. holidays. Even Thanksgiving, I was cleaning out my daughter's closet, who's 16, and when she was like in kindergarten or whatnot, they did a Thanksgiving thing where they had them dress up as Indians and pilgrims, right? And so as I found this little headband with a feather on it, and this was, and I showed it to my wife. I said, "This is no longer acceptable," and she goes, "No, it's not." But this was 10 years ago. So even the U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving is moving away from, these stereotypical depictions of indigenous people and moving more towards something more inclusive. And so that is where we believe Cinco de Mayo can go. In fact, we believe that marketers are missing a great opportunity with Cinco de Mayo, because Hispanics do. There are some who celebrate the holiday in a way that it takes pride in their culture and their country, and so it's a great story, right? It's a great underdog story of the Mexican army or irregulars, basically defeating the great French army, right? So it's a terrific underdog story that can be told, and in a way that will sort of, everyone loves an underdog story. So Cinco de Mayo has the potential to actually make people feel, positively about Mexican culture, about and just about sort of, people rising up for what's right, and so we do believe that it has had a history of stereotypical depictions, but the holiday is likely to continue in the U.S. But we believe that brand marketers who wish to acknowledge the holiday can do so in a culturally sensitive way that actually highlights positive aspects of Mexican American culture. So, Jonathan, did you have any other comments on this aspect of the presentation?
I think for me, we've had conversations on cultural appropriation, and for me, I think oftentimes it's a little difficult to discern between like appropriation and appreciation. And even through these the results I received under the Hispanic category, I'm also wondering if in the survey a lot of Hispanics themselves in that position of, as myself an Ecuadorian, right? I'm not comfortable wearing. If someone gave me a fake mustache, sombrero, or anything, I would feel uncomfortable wearing it. However, other Hispanics might feel comfortable because simply I'm Hispanic. I should be able to wear it. So I think that question to me, or the results for this question, are very interesting, especially from the Hispanic community. And I also want to know, hope this doesn't give brands the kind of the okay of well, the Hispanic community is unsure and kind of doesn't feel strongly towards this. But I'm interested to see what brands come up with for Cinco de Mayo next year or once this pandemic is over.
Excellent. Okay, great. And so I think there's a few more slides here. Jonathan, you can why don't you take those? It talks a little bit about how we arrive at this data.
For sure. So as Roy mentioned, the data that was presented to you came from an omnibus survey. However, we do understand that not everyone might have the funds to be able to participate in an omnibus survey or commission a survey. This is where ThinkNow Connect comes in. So this is a product that is robust, an audience segmentation tool with robust data, and we have a multicultural focus on this. We built this product to be able to meet your consumers' needs, and we're confident that we're presenting you with accurate consumer data. And then how you're able to do this. So you're able to go in and build deeper profiles to be able to get a comprehensive view of your target audience using our wide range of consumer attribute filters. So on the screen on the right-hand side, you see a couple of them. So demographic, financial, psychographics. These are a few of the filters that you can use to be able to build your audience. And then what is powering all of this? So behind the scenes, we have Connect survey happening. And what this is really a continuously fielded, nationally representative survey of approximately 20,000 US adults. In this survey, we also include English and Spanish-speaking Hispanics. And this survey is released twice a year, so that you know we're trying to get user data at multiple different points of the year because things change. And in addition to our robust data, I'm happy to say that I'm proud of the user-friendly interface. This allows you to be able to define your target audience and then use our menu of consumer attributes where you're able to then discover things about your audience. And this is all through just the graphs that you see on this screen. It makes data easily digestible to be able to understand what's happening, and pull insights from the platform. But then also you're able to export this data if you want to really take a deeper dive and see any data that might not be available in our platform. You can go into the export and actually view any more data that might be more relevant to you. And then lastly, we also allow for you to capture multicultural growth opportunities. So one of the wonderful features of our platform is that we have predetermined personas built in. So if you are looking at Hispanic Gen Z, you'll be able to quickly pull that up if you want to find out about millennial moms. And then, a lot of people are focused now on Gen Z and millennials, but we don't want to forget about the baby boomers. So we also have that persona built in. So you're really able to just go in. If you don't know where to start, you can click on one of the personas and just start layering our filters on top and see what the platform tells you about your potential audience to be able to build an informed campaign.
Right.
And then lastly, sorry.
Okay,
Is there anything else? The last slide is just contacting us if you want to work together.
Okay, great. No, there was a question about geography. So I believe the standard geographic. Actually, do you have a minute, Jonathan? You can open up the platform, and if you could probably open up Connect. I believe the standard geographic breaks are the 4 main regions of the census, or the West, Southwest, Northeast, and Midwest, and I believe it's possible to drill the data in terms of getting deeper. That is in there, but Jonathan might be able to actually answer your question by going into the tool. One of the things I also wanted to mention is, aside from the Connect survey, which is done specifically to feed respondent data into the platform, we also do integrate omnibus survey data into the platform as well. So the research that we do, that we own, we also feed it into the platform, because a lot of the surveys we do are owned by the companies and the brands we work with, but the stuff that we do, we also feed into it. So so in the geographic regions here, is a drop-down menu there? Right. So yeah. So the main ones here are the 4 main regions of the census, because that's how we break out all of our nationally representative survey data. So that's what's in there. Everything, of course, where the survey was taken is in the data, but that would require a here you go. The 9 subregions of the census. Keep going.
Yep. So we have geostate as well.
This is an update. This is great. So you can, and then geo DMA. Okay. So they've actually. So your question has been asked before. So this is awesome. So thank you, Jonathan, for pulling this up. So U.S. Census Bureau demographic info feeds the data. No, so when we do a nationally representative survey, we need to set quotas in order to get representative samples of the U.S. And so they've just released the 2020 data, and so our team is currently working to reset our quotas to those population standards. So when we say it's census data, that's the benchmark that we use as market researchers to segment and to say this is this is representative of this region, but yeah, that's it. Basically, yes, the census is used to set the benchmarks for how many respondents from each region we're going to pull in nationally representative surveys. So the personally identifiable information, so it gets scrubbed out. So I don't believe that we have anything that is personally identifiable.
So for this one, the only PII we do collect is the IP address. Any other PII is collected by the panel. But in terms of what's available for Connect, the product itself, it's IP address.
Mm-hmm. And then how many total DMAs? I believe if you click on the DMA codes, yeah, so keep going. Yeah, so in terms of DMAs, we would have to say, I think of certain DMAs, so DMAs, not all DMAs are created equal. You know, the Los Angeles DMA and the New York metro area DMA, of course, have more respondents. And so the data from those DMAs is going to be more robust and thus more stable. But if you have a smaller DMA, that there's just going to naturally be fewer respondents there. So for a quantitative question for the data to be stable, you need at least, I mean, the very bare minimum would be something like 50 people. I think, well, something like 30. I think after about 30 people, the data starts coalescing. After about 50, it starts coalescing more, and then 100, 500. Once you get to 500, then things look really stable. But so the answer to your question is, I don't know how many of the DMAs have base sizes that would that I would personally feel comfortable with using. Certainly, all the large DMAs, you know, the metro areas, all have, you know, stable base sizes. But if you get into a very small rural DMA, you should get a warning saying that warning small base size. So the answer to the question is, it's not how many are there, but how many with stable base size. I don't have the answer specifically, but I'm sure Jonathan could get that answer from the data team.
For sure.
Okay. All right. So so we're at about the half-hour mark. So I would like to thank you all. And again, if you have any, do we have countries of origin? Yes, we have countries of origin. You can break out the data. The way we break out the data is normally we run two different. So not only countries of origin for Hispanic, but also for Asian. But actually, go in the Hispanic one for a moment. Right. So here, and then keep going under Hispanic. Let's see. So yes. So you have the main groups. So Mexican origin, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, and then South American is broken out as a group, and Central American is broken out as a group, and that's in order to give you a stable base size of those groups. So so it looks like yes. So country of origins are available for specific countries of origin, for those countries of origins that have large readable base sizes. The ones that are aggregated are Central and South American. Okay. All right. So, so Jonathan, if they have questions about Connect, or actually, if you're also interested in the Cinco de Mayo study, we can certainly send you a PDF of it, and the tables for that study also have a lot more information that we break out, like U.S. born, foreign born, income, education, acculturation levels, and Angelica has a, I don't know if that's a hand up or a high five. Do you have countries of origin? Okay. Yes, we just like to receive the study information. So, interested, hand up. Okay, great. So, Jonathan, how could they reach you if they would like to get a copy of the presentation, or if they wanted to, if they had any questions about the Connect tool?
Yeah, I'll type in my email in the chat box right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it's your first name, I think, now, right? So you, so you're the only Jonathan. That only changes if there's two people with this name. Brenda seems to be a popular name for our company for some reason. We have several Brendas, but okay. So again, so if you have any questions, do reach out to Jonathan. He can get you a copy not only of the deck that we just looked at, but also any questions related to the tables. He can forward that information to you as well as anything to do with Connect. Thank you so much. And you know, happy Cinco de Mayo, and we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.